I used to believe love was enough. I believed if I showed up every day, stayed loyal, and worked until my hands shook, everything would work out. My name is Ethan Carter, and at 28, I thought I had already won life. I was engaged to Madeline Brooks, the woman I planned my future around. I pictured kids, a small house, and quiet nights. I didn't need luxury. I needed her. That belief followed me into the restaurant that night, dressed in borrowed confidence and a suit I could barely afford. It felt real then, strong, unbreakable, and safe. Madeline sat across from me, scrolling her phone, barely listening. I said, "You okay?" She nodded without looking up. "Just tired," she said. Her voice sounded distant. The restaurant was expensive, the kind with quiet music and soft lighting. Her parents arrived moments later. Richard Brooks shook my hand stiffly.
"Ethan," he said.
Elaine Brooks smiled politely. "Congratulations," she said, like it was a business deal. I tried to relax. "Dinner's on me," I joked. No one laughed. Madeline kept her eyes on the menu. I felt small, unnecessary, and strangely invisible sitting there, across from them all, quietly waiting. I tried again. "So, wedding date ideas?" I asked. Madeline sighed. "We'll talk later." Richard cleared his throat. "Ethan, how's work?" he asked. "Busy," I said. "I'm taking extra shifts." Elaine nodded. "Ambitious," she said, but her eyes showed doubt. I smiled anyway. I want to give Madeline the best. Madeline finally looked at me. Her stare felt cold. "You don't have to impress anyone," she said flatly. I wanted to believe her. I really did. My chest felt tight, but I stayed quiet, hopeful. I always stayed quiet for her. That was my habit. It cost me later.
Then.
The waiter poured wine. Madeline didn't touch hers. I noticed, but said nothing. Richard leaned closer. "You ever think about going back to school?" he asked. I swallowed. "Not right now." Elaine nodded slowly. "Stability matters," she said. Madeline's phone buzzed. She smiled at the screen. That smile wasn't for me. "Who's that?" I asked quietly. She locked her phone. "Just someone," she said. My stomach dropped. The room suddenly felt louder. I felt like an extra seat at the table. No one noticed me fading right there. I kept smiling anyway. That was survival then. I thought so.
Wrong.
Then the door opened. The mood shifted. Madeline stiffened. Richard frowned. Elaine whispered, "Oh no." A tall man walked in, confident, familiar. My chest tightened. Madeline stood. "Lucas," she said. Lucas Reed smiled. "Didn't expect to see me?" he asked. He looked at me like I was furniture. "Congrats," he said, nodding at Madeline. She laughed nervously. "What are you doing here?" she asked. He shrugged. "Dinner." My hands clenched under the table. I knew him immediately, even after years. He was the past she never buried. And he knew it. So did I. Fear tasted bitter. Inside me. Then. Lucas pulled up a chair without asking. "Mind if I join?" he said. No one stopped him. Madeline looked torn. "Lucas, this is inappropriate," she said softly.
He smirked.
"Relax." He turned to me. "You must be Ethan." I nodded. "Nice to meet you," I said. He laughed. "Is it?" Richard watched silently. Elaine avoided my eyes. I felt heat in my face. "We were just leaving," Madeline said suddenly. She stood. My heart raced. I knew something was coming. The air felt sharp and dangerous. My hands trembled slightly. I stayed seated, waiting for the truth. It arrived fast. She grabbed my arm and pulled me aside. Her grip hurt. "What is wrong with you?" I asked. She exhaled sharply. "Not here." Lucas watched us closely. I whispered, "Why is he here?" She snapped, "Because he matters." That cut deep. "And I don't?" I asked. She looked at me, eyes hard. "You're making a scene?" I laughed quietly. "I've been invisible all night." She rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic." My chest burned with shame and anger. Her words landed heavier than any slap. People passed by, pretending not to notice. I felt alone there, completely exposed and small. She crossed her arms. Ethan, you should go. My voice shook. Why? She looked away. Because this was a mistake. I stared at her. Our engagement. She nodded once. I rushed it. I whispered. I gave you everything.
She sighed.
That's the problem. Lucas stepped closer. You deserve better, Madeline, he said. She didn't disagree. My ears rang. Say it, I said. She frowned. Say what? I swallowed. Say I'm nothing. Silence followed. The noise of the restaurant faded instantly. I could only hear my breathing. She stared at me coldly. Then she spoke. Without hesitation. Like rehearsed. And final. You're nothing, Ethan, she said. I was embarrassed to marry you. The words echoed inside me. I felt hollow. I asked, was I ever enough? She shook her head. You were safe, not impressive. Lucas smiled slightly. Richard looked away. Elaine said nothing. I nodded slowly. Okay, I whispered. My hands stopped shaking. I felt numb. I won't beg, I said. Madeline shrugged. Good. I took a step back. This ends now. No one stopped me as I turned. My legs felt heavy, but steady. I walked past tables, past judgment. No tears followed me. Only silence did. That night, I stepped outside into cold air. I breathed deeply. My phone buzzed. I ignored it. The city lights blurred. I leaned against my car. You're nothing, her voice replayed. I laughed once, broken. If that's true, I said aloud, I'll build something from nothing. My hands finally shook again. I sat inside my car and stared ahead. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there. That sentence cracked my life open. Everything before it died quietly. I didn't know what came next. I only knew I'd changed forever. Pain became my starting line. That was the truth. Always. I drove without direction. My phone kept buzzing. I finally answered. Ethan? Ryan's voice cracked. Where are you? I said, driving. He asked, what happened? I hesitated. She ended it. Silence. Come over, he said. Don't be alone. I nodded though he couldn't see me. I'm fine. I lied. He replied, you never are when you say that. I swallowed. I'll be there. The road stretched endlessly. My thoughts screamed louder than the engine. Streetlights passed like witnesses to my failure. Each mile pulled me further from her, and closer to myself. I didn't realize that yet. Not then. Never. Ryan opened the door before I knocked. Damn, he said softly. I walked inside. Say it, I told him. Say I'm pathetic. He frowned. I won't. I laughed bitterly. She said I was nothing. His jaw tightened. She's wrong. I sat on his couch. I gave up everything, I said. Dreams, time, pride. Ryan sat across from me. You chose love, he said. That's not nothing. I stared at the floor. I didn't believe him yet. My chest felt bruised from holding pain. The room smelled like old coffee. It felt safe enough to breathe. Barely, but still. That night, I lay awake on Ryan's couch, staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzed again. A message from Madeline appeared. I didn't open it. I whispered, I won't chase you. The room stayed silent. I thought about the ring in my pocket. I pulled it out. The diamond looked dull now. You chose wrong, I told myself. I closed my fist around it. Tomorrow would hurt. The next day too. But tonight I survived. That had to be enough for now. I breathed slowly, counting seconds. Pain hummed quietly under my ribs. Sleep didn't come easily. But exhaustion won. Eventually. Barely. Morning light crept in. Ryan handed me coffee. You okay? He asked. Madeline didn't follow me outside right away. I stood near the entrance, staring at my reflection in the glass. My eyes were red. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I heard the door open behind me. Ethan, she said. I turned. She crossed her arms like she was cold. We need to talk. I nodded. You already said enough. She sighed. You're making this harder. I laughed once. I'm the one making it hard? She looked annoyed. Don't twist this. I stepped closer. Then say it again. Say why. She met my eyes without flinching. Because you can't give me the life I want. I swallowed. I work 2 jobs. She shook her head. It's not enough. I said, I gave up my promotion to help you finish school. She snapped. I didn't ask you to. My chest hurt. I thought we were a team. She laughed quietly. That's the problem. You thought. I asked, so that's it? She nodded. That's it. My voice broke. After everything? She checked her phone. Ethan, please don't do this here. I wiped my face. You already did. Lucas stood a few feet away, watching. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. His presence said everything she believed. I felt replaced before I was gone. I whispered, was there ever a chance? She paused. In the beginning. I asked, what changed? She shrugged. I grew. I nodded slowly. And I didn't. She said, exactly. The words crushed me. I reached into my pocket. My fingers touched the ring. My throat closed. So, I'm not good enough. She said, you're not what I want. Tears spilled before I could stop them. She looked uncomfortable. Please don't cry. I laughed through it. You're ending our engagement, she replied. I'm being honest. I asked, is he why? She didn't answer. That answer was loud enough. I pulled out the ring. My hand shook as I held it up. This meant forever to me.
She stared at it.
I know. I asked, did it mean anything to you? She hesitated. It did. Once. My heart cracked. Then why am I disposable? She said, because love isn't enough. I nodded. It was for me. She looked away. I'm sorry. I opened my palm. The ring caught the light. Take it, I said. She shook her head. I don't want it. My breath hitched. Then what am I supposed to do with it? She said, whatever you want. I let it fall. The ring hit the floor. The sound echoed. People turned. I felt exposed. Broken.
Done.
Her parents watched from inside. Richard said nothing. Elaine pressed her lips together.
No one stopped this.
No one defended me. I crouched and picked up the ring. My hands were numb. I stood.
We're done, I said.
She nodded. Yes. I wiped my face. I hope he's worth it. She didn't answer. Lucas finally spoke. You'll be okay, he said. I looked at him. You don't get to talk to me. He raised his hands. Fair. Madeline stepped back. I'm going inside. I said, go. She hesitated. Ethan. I shook my head. Don't. She turned and walked away. That was it. No hug. No goodbye. Just distance. I stood there until my legs hurt. I walked to my car slowly. Every step felt heavy. I sat inside and locked the door. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. You're nothing, her voice echoed. I screamed once. The sound scared me. I covered my face. What did I do wrong? I asked the empty car. No answer came. I replayed every sacrifice. Every late shift. Every promise. Was I blind? I whispered. My phone buzzed. A text from her. I didn't open it. I turned the phone off. I leaned back and stared at the ceiling. Hours passed. People came and went. I stayed. Frozen in that moment. Before and after collided there. I remembered the first time she said she loved me. I remembered believing her. I remembered planning a future that didn't exist anymore. I wasn't enough, I said aloud. The words tasted bitter. My chest felt hollow. I thought about my dad's voice. Stand tall. I laughed. I tried. My eyes burned. Tears fell silently. I didn't wipe them away. I let them fall. I deserved that grief. I deserved to feel it fully. The ring sat in my palm. I closed my fist around it. You meant everything to me, I said. It didn't answer. Nothing did. Night fell. The parking lot emptied. I finally started the engine. I drove without direction. Every red light felt like judgment. I questioned everything. Am I weak? I asked. Am I unworthy? My reflection stared back from the mirror. I didn't recognize myself. I stopped at a gas station and just sat there.
My phone buzzed again.
This time it was Ryan. I answered.
Hey, I said.
My voice cracked. Where are you? He asked. I don't know, I said honestly. He paused. Did she end it? I swallowed. Yes. Silence. Then, come to my place. I hesitated. I don't want to be a burden. He snapped. You're not. I nodded. Okay. I drove there. Ryan opened the door before I knocked. Damn, he said quietly. He pulled me into a hug. I froze, then broke. I failed, I said. He shook his head. No, I pulled away. She said, I wasn't enough. He frowned. She's wrong. I laughed bitterly. She didn't cry. Ryan guided me to the couch. Sit. I did. He handed me water. Drink. I stared at it. I lost everything. He sat across from me. You lost someone who didn't see you. I wiped my face. I loved her. He said, I know. That hurt worse. He knew. He always did. I pulled the ring from my pocket. Look, I said. He stared.
Damn.
I said. It hit the floor. He clenched his jaw. She let it. I nodded. Her parents watched. He cursed softly. That's messed up. I said. They never wanted me. He replied. Then they don't deserve you. I shook my head. I'm tired. He said, sleep here. I hesitated. I should go home. He said, home isn't safe tonight. I nodded slowly. He grabbed the blanket. You're not alone. I whispered. I feel alone. He said, feelings lie. I didn't argue. I lay on the couch staring at the ceiling. Ryan sat nearby.
Talk to me, he said.
I said, she listed everything I lack. He asked, money? I nodded. Status? I nodded. Ambition? I hesitated. She thinks I don't dream.
He scoffed.
You dream bigger than anyone. I said, apparently not enough. He leaned forward. Listen to me. I met his eyes. She didn't deserve you. I looked away. I don't believe that yet.
He sighed.
You will. I closed my eyes. The room felt quiet. Safe.
Heavy. My phone buzzed again.
I didn't look. Ryan said, what will you do tomorrow? I answered, breathe. He smiled sadly. That's enough. I whispered, my life split tonight. He nodded. Before and after. I swallowed. I don't know who I am after. He said, you'll find out. I opened my eyes. What if I'm nothing? He leaned back. Then you build from there. I stared at the ring in my hand. This was my future. He said, it was a chapter. I shook my head. It was everything. He replied, everything changes. I turned away. Sleep crept in slowly. I dreamed of silence, of empty rooms, of her voice fading. I woke briefly and stared at the ring again. Moonlight hit it softly. Before, I whispered. I closed my eyes. After. My chest tightened. I let sleep take me again. The pain stayed, but quieter. Tomorrow would hurt. The next day, too. But tonight, I survived. That was all I could do. And somehow that was enough. Rock bottom doesn't arrive quietly. It has a sound. For me, it sounded like my boss saying my name with disappointment. Ethan, close the door. I did. He didn't look angry. That hurt more. You've been distracted, he said. I nodded. I know.
He sighed. We talked about this.
I said, I'm sorry. He folded his hands. Sorry doesn't fix missed deadlines. I stared at the carpet. I'll do better. He shook his head. I don't think you can. Not right now. My chest tightened. Are you firing me?
He paused.
Yes. The word landed heavy. Effective today. I whispered, I need this job. He replied, I know. That was it. No drama. Just an ending. I walked out with a box in my hands. Someone avoided my eyes. Someone else pretended not to see me. I stepped outside and laughed once. Of course, I said. My phone buzzed. A bank alert. Overdraft warning. I rubbed my face. Perfect timing. I sat on the curb. I counted my money. It wasn't enough. Rent was due. Utilities overdue. I whispered, how did it get this bad? No answer came. I stood up slowly and started walking. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stand still. Standing still felt like drowning. Every step felt heavier than the last. I stopped near a cafe. I heard a familiar laugh. I froze. Madeline's voice carried through the open door. I dodged a bullet, she said. Someone replied, really? She laughed again. Absolutely. He had no ambition. My stomach dropped. I stayed hidden, listening. He wanted a simple life, she continued. That scared me. Another voice said, good thing you realized early. Madeline said, I'm relieved. Relief. That word cut deeper than anger. I backed away slowly. My hands shook. I was a bullet, I whispered. Something dangerous. I walked until my legs burned. Shame followed me closely. It felt endless.
Loud.
Crushing. I sat on a bus bench and stared at my shoes. You failed, I told myself. As a man. I replayed her words. Her laugh. Her relief. I clenched my fists. I loved you, I said under my breath. Was that so wrong? My phone buzzed. Ryan again. I answered. Hey, I said. How are you? He asked. I laughed bitterly. I got fired. He went quiet. Damn. I said. I heard her today. He asked, Madeline? I nodded. She said she dodged a bullet. He cursed. That's cruel. I said, it's honest. He replied, no, it's heartless. I shrugged. Same thing. Ryan said, come over. I said, I don't want to talk. He replied, too bad. I hesitated. I'm not good company. He said, you don't have to be. I sighed. Fine. When I arrived, he handed me a beer. Drink, he said. I shook my head. I can't afford habits. He sat across from me. You look wrecked, I said. I feel worse. He leaned forward. You can't stay like this. I snapped. What choice do I have? He paused. Meet someone. I frowned. Who? He said, Daniel Wright. I laughed. Your old mentor? He nodded. He's blunt. I said, I don't need blunt. He replied, you need honest. I stood up. I'm not some charity case. Ryan stood too. He won't treat you like one. I shook my head. I'm not ready. He crossed his arms. You're desperate. I flinched.
He softened.
I'm not judging. I looked away. I don't want pity. He said, you won't get it. I sighed. Why would he meet me? Ryan smiled. Because he respects me. I hesitated. What if he thinks I'm nothing? Ryan met my eyes. Then you'll survive hearing it. That scared me. Silence filled the room. Finally, I nodded. Fine. He smiled. Tomorrow. We met Daniel at a small office.
He didn't stand when I entered.
Sit, he said. I sat. He studied me. You look tired. I said. I am. He nodded. Good. Tired people tell the truth. I swallowed. Ryan said you could help. Daniel leaned back. I don't help. I advise. I said. I need direction. He said. Everyone does. I took a breath. My fiancé left me. He nodded. Common. I continued. I lost my job.
He nodded again.
Also common. I frowned. This doesn't feel common. He said, Pain never does. I clenched my jaw. She said I was nothing. He leaned forward. Do you believe her? I hesitated. Sometimes. Daniel folded his hands. Tell me what you gave her. I said, everything. He raised an eyebrow. Be specific. I swallowed.
Time.
Money. Dreams. He asked, what did you keep? I paused. Nothing. He nodded slowly. There's your problem. I frowned. Loving her was wrong.
He shook his head.
Losing yourself was. I looked down. She wanted more. He said, she wanted different. I asked, what's the difference? He replied, more is endless. Different is preference. I sat back. She preferred someone else. He shrugged. That's all right. I clenched my fists. So I failed. He shook his head firmly. No, I looked up. Then what? Daniel said, you weren't nothing. I stiffened. He continued, you just gave everything to the wrong person. The words hit me hard. I blinked. You don't think I'm weak?
He scoffed.
Weak men don't sacrifice. I swallowed. She said I lacked ambition. He replied, ambition for what? I hesitated. More. He shook his head. That's vague. I sighed. I wanted peace. He smiled slightly. That's ambition too. I felt something loosen in my chest. Then why does it hurt so much? He said, because peace isn't valued by everyone. I nodded slowly. For the first time, I didn't feel judged. Daniel leaned back. What do you want now? I said honestly, to survive. He nodded. Good goal. I laughed weakly. That's it. He replied, for now. Ryan watched quietly. Daniel continued, you don't need revenge. I said, I don't want it. He said, good. You need structure. I asked, can you help? He considered me. If you listen. I nodded quickly. I will. He stood. Then start small. I asked, how? He said, show up. Every day. I nodded. I can do that. He smiled. We'll see. When we left, Ryan clapped my shoulder. See. I exhaled. He didn't think I was useless. Ryan grinned. I told you. I looked back at the building. I still feel broken. Ryan said, broken things can be rebuilt. I nodded. I'm scared. He said, so am I. I looked at him. Of what? He replied, of you giving up. I shook my head. Not yet. He smiled. Good. I took a deep breath. The weight was still there, but lighter. Just a little. That night, I lay on the couch again. I stared at the ceiling. I wasn't nothing, I whispered. The words felt strange.
New.
I didn't believe them fully.
But I wanted to.
My phone buzzed. A message from Madeline popped up. I didn't open it. I turned the phone face down. Not tonight, I said. I thought about Daniel's voice. About giving everything to the wrong person. Maybe I can give something to myself, I said quietly. Sleep came slowly. But it came. For the first time in days, I didn't dream of her. I dreamed of standing up. Just standing. That was enough.
For now.
Madeline texted me on a Tuesday afternoon. No greeting. No apology. Just, are you doing okay? I stared at the screen for a long time. My thumb hovered. My chest tightened. I imagined typing. I miss you. I imagined typing. Please talk to me. I imagined begging. My hands shook. Say something, I whispered to myself. I didn't. I locked the phone and set it face down. The silence felt loud. My heart raced like I had just made a terrible mistake. Or maybe the right one. I couldn't tell yet. I sat there breathing slowly, fighting the urge to chase someone who already walked away. Ryan noticed immediately. She texted you, he said. I looked up. How do you know? He shrugged. Your face. I laughed weakly. She asked if I'm okay. He snorted. That's convenient, I said. Part of me wants to answer. He leaned forward. And say what? I hesitated. I don't know. He nodded. That's your answer. I exhaled. Leaving her on read feels cruel. He replied. So, did what she did. I looked down. I don't want to be that guy. He said, You're not. You're protecting yourself. That sounded right. It still hurt. I didn't unlock the phone again. Later that day, Daniel called. Are you free tomorrow? He asked. I said, I think so. He replied, Good. I have something. I hesitated. What kind of something? He said, Work. I swallowed. I thought you said start small. He chuckled. This is small. Just demanding. I frowned. What does that mean? He said, Long hours. No guarantees. I paused. Paid. He replied, Eventually. My stomach dropped. Eventually doesn't pay rent. He said, Neither does fear. I sighed. I don't know if I'm ready. He said, That's why I called. Silence followed. Then I said, Okay. He replied, Be here at 6. The line went dead. I stared at the phone. My heart pounded. Risk felt terrifying. Staying stuck felt worse. The first day nearly broke me. Daniel handed me a stack of files. Read, he said. I asked, All of this? He nodded. Today. I laughed. You're kidding. He didn't smile. No, I sat down and started. My head hurt by noon. My eyes burned. I wanted to quit. I whispered, This is stupid.
Daniel heard me.
What is? I said, Me. He replied, Correct. When you doubt yourself. I clenched my jaw. I'm not used to this. He said, Comfort makes people weak. That stung. I worked until my hands cramped. When I stood to leave, he said, Be back tomorrow. I nodded. I didn't trust myself to speak. I went home exhausted, questioning everything. On the third day, I messed up. Daniel slammed a folder on the desk. This is wrong. I froze. I'm sorry, he said. Sorry doesn't help me. My chest tightened. I tried. He looked at me sharply. Trying isn't enough here. I swallowed. Then why keep me? He paused. Because you show up. I nodded. Barely. He replied, Barely is better than nothing. That word echoed. Nothing. I clenched my fists. I won't mess up again. He said, You will. I blinked.
What?
He said, Failure is part of this. I breathed out slowly. Then why does it feel like judgment?
He leaned back.
Because you're still bleeding. I didn't respond. He waved me off. Fix it. That night, Ryan told me the news. You should hear this sitting down, he said. I frowned. What? He hesitated. Madeline and Lucas. My chest tightened. What about them? He sighed. They're engaged. The room went quiet. I stared at him. Already? He nodded.
Yeah.
I laughed softly. That was fast. He said, Are you okay? I swallowed. I don't know. My hands trembled. She texted me yesterday. Ryan cursed. That's messed up. I nodded. I almost replied. He said, But you didn't. I exhaled. No, he smiled slightly. That matters. I looked away. It still hurts. He said, Of course it does. I whispered, But I didn't break. He nodded. I see that. The days blurred together.
Work. Sleep. Repeat.
I failed often. I learned slowly. Daniel rarely praised me. When he did, it was small. Better, he said once. That word carried weight. I held on to it. Some nights I wanted to quit. I stared at the phone, at Madeline's unread message. Just answer, my mind whispered. Just ask why. I didn't. Each time I resisted, something inside me strengthened. Quietly, painfully. I wasn't loud about my progress. I wasn't posting wins. I was rebuilding in silence, brick by brick, mistake by mistake. One evening, Daniel stopped me as I packed up. Why are you still here? He asked. I blinked. Because you told me to show up. He shook his head. That's not enough. I hesitated. Because I need this. He said, why? I swallowed. Because I don't want to beg anymore. He studied me. Beg for what? I answered. For someone to see my value. He nodded slowly. Good answer. I asked, is that enough? He replied, it's a start. I walked out feeling lighter. Not healed. Not confident. But steadier. Like I was standing on my own feet again. Madeline never texted again.
I noticed when days passed.
It hurt less than I expected. Or maybe I was just busy. Ryan asked, you okay? I nodded.
Yeah.
He raised an eyebrow. That wasn't convincing. I smiled. I'm tired. He laughed. That's honest. I said, I'm learning. He asked, about work? I shook my head. About myself. He clapped my shoulder. Proud of you. I shrugged. Don't be yet. He replied, I will be anyway. That meant more than he knew. One night, alone on the couch, I thought about begging. About how close I came. I imagined her replying. Imagine the relief. Then I imagined the shame. I chose not to beg. I said aloud. The words felt powerful. Final. I didn't know what the future held. I didn't need to. For the first time since everything fell apart, I respected myself. That feeling was unfamiliar. Fragile. But real. And I wasn't letting it go. Not for anyone. Not again. Success didn't arrive like a miracle. It dragged me through exhaustion first. Months passed in early mornings and late nights. Daniel kept pushing. Again, he'd say. I'd reply, I'm tired. He'd answer, good.
I stopped arguing.
I showed up. Every day. My body hurt. My pride healed slowly. One morning, he said, you're ready to meet someone. I frowned. For what? He said, to test you. I didn't like that word. Test how? He smiled slightly. To see if you still think small. I followed him into a conference room. A woman stood there, arms crossed, sharp eyes watching me. This is Claire Thompson, Daniel said. Investor. She nodded. Ethan Carter, she said. Sit. I sat. She didn't smile. Daniel says you're disciplined, she said. I shrugged. I show up. She replied, that's rare. I said, it shouldn't be. She leaned forward. But it is. I swallowed. Why am I here? She said, because you don't know your value. I stiffened. I'm working on that. She smirked.
Good.
Then let's talk numbers. She asked questions fast. I answered slower. She challenged every assumption. Why not scale? She asked. I said, risk. She replied, fear. I clenched my jaw. Calculated fear. She laughed. That's still fear. Daniel watched silently. I felt exposed, but not judged. I liked that. When the meeting ended, Claire stood. You're honest, she said. That's dangerous. I asked, is that bad? She replied, not if you learn when to sharpen it. Weeks later, she called me. I'm in, she said. I blinked. In what?
She sighed.
Your idea. My heart raced. You're serious? She said, don't make me regret it. I laughed. I won't. She replied, no promises. Just work. Money started moving. Not huge, but real. I watched numbers change. Accounts fill slowly. I slept less. I thought more. Confidence crept in quietly. One night, Ryan said, you look different. I asked, better? He smiled. Stronger. I nodded. I feel tired. He laughed. That means it's working. Claire called often. Push harder, she'd say. I'd reply, I am. She'd answer, good. No praise. Just expectation. I liked that too. The deal almost failed once. I panicked. We're done, I told Claire. She said, relax. I snapped. You don't understand. She replied calmly. I do. Silence followed. Then she said, fix the weak point. I asked, how? She said, you tell me. I stayed up all night. I fixed it. The deal went through. I stared at my screen in disbelief. It worked, I whispered. Claire called. Of course it did. I laughed. I was ready to quit. She replied, everyone is before they win. I sat back, breathing hard. Something shifted. I didn't feel lucky. I felt earned. That was new. That mattered. Money didn't change everything, but it changed options. I paid rent on time. I replaced worn shoes. I slept without panic. Daniel noticed. You're standing straighter, he said. I shrugged. Habit. He smiled. Growth. Ryan raised a beer. To Ethan not being broke. I laughed. Barely. He said, still counts. Claire remained distant but present. Don't get comfortable, she warned. I nodded. I won't, she replied. Good. I stopped checking my phone for Madeline. Days passed. Weeks. I didn't notice until one night, walking into a quiet bar after work. I almost bumped into her. Sorry, I said without looking. She froze. Ethan? I looked up. Her eyes widened. Madeline. She smiled automatically. Then it faded. I didn't recognize you, she said. I nodded. It's been a while. She glanced at my jacket. You look different. I said. I am. She asked. How are you? I shrugged. Busy. She laughed nervously. That's good. Silence stretched. She asked, what are you doing now? I said, working. She pressed. On what? I smiled politely. Things. She frowned. You always hated being vague. I replied. I learned. She shifted. Are you seeing anyone? I paused. No, her shoulders relaxed slightly. I noticed. She asked, we should catch up sometime. I shook my head. I can't. Her smile faltered. Why? I said, I don't want to. That surprised both of us. She searched my face. Did I hurt you that badly? I answered honestly. Yes. She whispered. I didn't mean to. I nodded. I know. That was true. She just didn't care enough then. She asked, are you happy? I considered it. I'm building something. She smiled sadly. I always believed in you. I met her eyes. No, you didn't. Silence again. She looked away. I made a mistake. I didn't argue. I didn't comfort her. I just said, I have to go. She reached out slightly, stopped herself.
Ethan.
I paused.
What?
She swallowed. I'm engaged. I nodded. I know. Her eyes flickered. Does that bother you? I answered. No, that was the truth. It surprised me. She forced a smile. I'm glad you're okay. I replied. I am. Then I turned and walked away. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. For the first time, I left first. Outside, I breathed deeply. The night felt calm. Ryan texted. Where are you? I replied. Out. He sent. Everything okay? I typed. Yeah. And meant it. Claire called. Did you review the numbers? She asked. I smiled. Just now. She said. Thoughts? I replied. We can do better. She laughed softly. There you are. I walked home feeling steady. Not invincible. Just grounded. Success hadn't knocked politely. It dragged me through doubt, pain, and discipline. But it was mine now. I didn't chase it. I survived long enough to meet it. And when I walked away from Madeline, I realized something important. I wasn't proving anything anymore. I was just moving forward. And that felt like real success. The first crack in Madeline's life didn't come from me. It came from Lucas. Ryan told me over coffee. Did you hear? He asked. I frowned. Hear what?
He leaned in.
Lucas's company is done. I blinked. Done how? Ryan shrugged. Investigations. Bad deals. Shady money. I exhaled slowly. I used to warn her about him. Ryan nodded. She didn't listen. I stared into my cup. I'm not happy about it. Ryan studied me. You don't look sad either. I shook my head. I feel neutral. That surprised me. I thought I'd feel vindicated. I didn't. I just felt distant. Like it wasn't my story anymore. Daniel called later. You see the news? He asked. I said, about Lucas? He replied, yes. I hesitated. I could have been involved in that. He paused. But you weren't. I nodded. Because I walked away. He said, that decision saved you. I thought about it. I didn't know it then. He replied, good choices rarely announce themselves. I smiled slightly. So, this is karma?
He scoffed.
Call it consequence. That word felt heavier, more accurate. I didn't celebrate. I didn't interfere. I just kept working. That felt right. Madeline started texting again that week. Late at night. Long messages. I didn't open them at first. Ryan noticed. You're staring at your phone, he said. I shrugged. Habit. He raised an eyebrow. Her. I nodded.
He sighed.
You don't owe her anything. I said, I know. He asked, then why not block her? I thought about it. Because silence is enough. He nodded slowly. Fair. That night, curiosity won. I opened one message. I can't sleep, she wrote. Everything feels unstable. I stared at the words. My chest tightened. I closed the phone. I didn't reply. The messages kept coming. I'm sorry for how I treated you. Then, you wouldn't understand what I'm dealing with. Apology and pride mixed together. I read them all. I answered none. One message said, I see now what you tried to protect me from. I whispered, too late. Another said, do you ever think about us? I laughed quietly. Not like you think. My anger stirred. Not sharp.
Dull.
Heavy. I wanted to tell her everything. I didn't. I sat with the feeling instead. Daniel noticed. You're distracted, he said. I replied, old ghosts. He nodded. They pass. I asked, what if they don't? He said, then you stop feeding them. Work expanded quickly. Claire pushed harder.
We're scaling, she said.
I frowned. Already. She replied, opportunity doesn't wait. I nodded. Neither do bills. She smiled. Now you're thinking clearly. New clients came in. New pressure followed. I worked through nights again, but this time with purpose. Ryan joked, you're becoming boring. I smiled. I like boring.
He laughed.
You like winning. That felt true. Not loud winning. Quiet progress. Each small step stacked on the last. I didn't check Madeline's messages during the day. Only at night. Like a test I kept passing. One evening, Claire called late. You free? She asked. I said, always. She replied, that's a problem. I laughed. What's wrong? She said, nothing. I just wanted to hear your voice. I paused. That's new. She replied, don't read into it. I smiled. I won't. She continued, you handled that deal well. I said, you pushed me. She replied, you pushed back. I hesitated. Thanks. She said, don't thank me. Earn it. I hung up feeling grounded.
Scene.
Without strings. That mattered. Madeline sent another message that night. Lucas blames everyone but himself. I rolled my eyes. Classic. I muttered. Then she wrote, I should have listened to you. My jaw tightened. You didn't want to, I whispered. She sent one more. I'm scared. That one lingered. I sat there staring. My thumb hovered. Say something, a part of me urged. Another part answered. No, I put the phone down. My chest hurt. But it didn't control me. That was new too. Ryan confronted me. You're carrying anger, he said. I frowned. Am I? He nodded. I can see it. I sighed. I don't want revenge. He replied. You don't need it. I leaned back. Then why does it still burn? He thought for a moment. Because you never said your piece. I shook my head. I don't need to. He said, you need to forgive yourself. That stopped me. For what? He said, for loving her. I swallowed. I don't regret that. He smiled. Good. Then let go of the rest. Easier said than done. But I tried. Daniel tested me a week later. Madeline reached out? He asked casually. I stiffened. How did you know? He shrugged. Patterns. I said, yes. He asked, did you respond? I shook my head. No, he nodded. Why? I answered, because I don't need closure from her. He smiled. That's growth. I exhaled. It still hurts. He replied, pain doesn't mean failure. I nodded. I won't stop karma. He said, you shouldn't. I added, but I won't help it either. He said, that's integrity. I held on to that word. One night, Madeline sent the longest message yet. Paragraphs. Apologies. Explanations. Regrets. I know I hurt you, she wrote. I know I was cruel. Then, I didn't mean to destroy you. I laughed softly. You didn't, I said aloud. She ended with, I can't sleep anymore.
I stared at that line.
The old me would have rushed to comfort her.
I didn't.
I put the phone down and went to bed. I slept deeply. That felt like justice enough. The company hit a milestone that week. Claire shook my hand.
You earned this, she said.
I smiled. We did. She nodded. That's why it works. Ryan bought cheap champagne. To tilted tables, he said. I laughed. What does that mean? He replied. You didn't flip the game. You adjusted it. I clinked my glass. I like that. I felt calm, centered. Madeline's life was unraveling. Mine was building. I didn't cause it. I didn't stop it. I just kept moving forward. I finally faced my anger one quiet night. I sat alone and said, you hurt me. The words felt heavy. Then I said, but you don't own me. That felt lighter. I didn't need her regret. I didn't need her pain. I needed my peace. I checked my phone one last time. Another message waited. I deleted the thread without opening it. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. I breathed easily. I realized something important then. I didn't need to hurt her to win. I already had. By choosing myself. Madeline showed up on a Thursday night. No warning. No text. Just a knock. I opened the door and froze. She looked smaller. Thinner. Her eyes were red. Her hair was pulled back like she hadn't cared enough to fix it. Ethan, she said quietly. I didn't answer. I just stepped aside. She walked in slowly. I didn't know if you'd let me in, she said. I replied, I didn't know if I would. She nodded. That's fair. We stood there awkwardly. Silence pressed between us. Finally, she whispered, you look good. I shrugged. I'm fine.
She flinched at that. I deserve that, she said.
She sat on the couch like a stranger. I stayed standing. Why are you here? I asked. She clasped her hands. I couldn't sleep anymore. I crossed my arms. You said that already. She nodded. I know. Her voice cracked. It's different now. I said, how? She looked up at me, eyes glassy. Because I finally understand. I waited. She swallowed. I made a mistake. I let out a slow breath. You made a choice. She shook her head. I chose wrong. Tears spilled. Real tears. Not dramatic. Just tired. Broken. I compared you to everyone, she said. And I lost the only man who actually loved me. My chest tightened. Pity mixed with anger. Nostalgia crept in. I hated that it still could. I said, you didn't lose me. You threw me away. She nodded quickly. I know. She wiped her face. I thought love was about upgrades. I scoffed. And I wasn't one. She winced. You were everything I needed. I was just blind. I sat across from her finally. Why now? I asked. She hesitated. Because everything fell apart. I nodded. Lucas. She laughed bitterly. Gone. I said nothing. She continued. The money, the plans, the image. She looked at me. It all collapsed. I replied, that happens when foundations are fake. She nodded again. You warned me. I said, I did. She whispered, I didn't listen. She leaned forward. I wake up every night replaying your face. I stiffened. That's not my burden. She nodded. I know. I'm not asking you to fix me. I raised an eyebrow. Then what are you asking? She took a deep breath. To hear me. I stayed silent. She continued. I treated you like you were disposable. I clenched my jaw. You said I was nothing. Her breath caught. I know. She whispered. That's the sentence that haunts me. I laughed softly. It changed my life. She nodded. Mine too. I said. I rebuilt mine. She looked down. I destroyed mine. The contrast sat heavy between us. I didn't feel victorious. Just sad. She reached into her bag and pulled out the ring. My ring. I kept it, she said. I frowned. Why? She answered. Because I couldn't throw it away. I shook my head. That doesn't mean anything now. She placed it on the table. I know. Tears fell again. I just wanted you to know it mattered to me. I stared at it. Memories surged, then faded. It mattered to me too, I said. Back then. She looked up. Is there any chance? The question hung in the air. I felt it hit every old wound. I closed my eyes briefly. No, I said. Firm, gentle, final. She broke then. Full sobs. Shoulders shaking. I ruined everything, she cried. I watched quietly. I didn't reach out. I didn't comfort her. I let her feel it. After a moment, she said, You didn't deserve what I did. I replied, I know. She sniffed. I broke you. I shook my head. You didn't. She looked confused. Then why am I here? I met her eyes. Because you revealed me. She blinked. What does that mean? I said, You showed me who I was without you. She whispered, And who is that? I answered, Someone who won't beg to be loved. That hit her harder than anger ever could. She wiped her face slowly. You've changed. I nodded. I had to. She said, I wish I had changed sooner. I replied, Then this conversation wouldn't exist. She smiled sadly. You're right. She stood slowly. I won't ask again. I stood too. Thank you. She hesitated. Do you hate me? I thought about it. No, her shoulders sagged. That's worse, she whispered. I said, It's freedom. She nodded. For you. I replied, For both of us, if you let it be. She picked up her bag, left the ring on the table. You can keep it, she said. I shook my head. I don't need it. She nodded and took it back. At the door, she paused. I really did love you, she said. I believed her. I know, I replied. She swallowed. I just didn't know how to protect it. I said, Love without respect isn't safe. She nodded slowly. Goodbye, Ethan. I said, Goodbye, Madeline. I closed the door gently. Not angrily. Not dramatically. Just closed it. The click echoed softly. I leaned against the door and exhaled. My hands were steady. My heart felt light. I checked the time. Midnight. I walked to the couch and sat down. The room felt calm. Quiet. Complete. Ryan texted. Everything okay? I typed, Yeah. He replied, You sure? I smiled. I'm sure. I turned my phone off. I lay down and stared at the ceiling. I replayed the night. Not her tears. Not her regret. Just my words. My calm. My choice. I realized something then. Silence had finally reached her. and it no longer screamed inside me. I closed my eyes. Sleep came easily,
Deeply.
peacefully. For the first time in years, I slept without memories chasing me, without voices judging me. Just rest. Just quiet.
Just me.
I stood backstage holding a wireless mic, listening to my name echo through the ballroom. Ethan Carter. Applause followed. Real applause. I exhaled slowly. Ryan leaned over and said, "That's you, man." I smirked. "Still feels weird."
He laughed.
"Get used to it." Claire adjusted my jacket collar and said, "Remember, speak like you belong there." I replied, "I do belong there." She smiled. "Exactly." I stepped onto the stage, lights warm on my face. I said, "Good evening." The room quieted instantly. That silence felt earned. I spoke about failure, discipline, and rebuilding. People nodded. Some took notes. I finished with, "Success isn't loud. It's consistent." Applause thundered again. Afterward, people crowded me. "Great speech. Inspiring. Can we talk business?" I shook hands, answered questions, smiled politely. Ryan whispered, "You're killing it." I replied, "I'm just talking." Claire said, "That's the point." I grabbed a water and turned. That's when I saw her. Madeline stood near the back. Alone. No Lucas. No entourage. Just her. Our eyes met briefly. She looked away first. My chest didn't tighten. That surprised me. I turned back to a man asking about partnerships. "Email my assistant," I said. He nodded eagerly. When I looked again, Madeline was watching me talk to someone else. Her face was unreadable. Elaine Brooks stood nearby, pretending to admire a painting.
She didn't look at me.
Richard Brooks stared at his phone like it might save him. I almost laughed. Ryan noticed. "You see them?" he asked. I nodded.
Yeah.
He said, "Poetic."
Claire leaned in.
"You okay?" I answered. "Better than okay." She squeezed my arm once and walked off to greet an investor. Madeline moved closer, step by careful step. People greeted me constantly. "Ethan." "Mr. Carter." "Loved your talk." Each greeting felt like another inch of distance. Finally, she stood a few feet away. She didn't interrupt. She waited. I finished a conversation and turned. "Hi," she said softly. I replied, "Hello." That was it. No rush. No tension. Just words. She gestured around. "You look successful." I shrugged. "I'm doing well." She nodded. "They respect you." I said, "I respect myself." That landed hard. She swallowed. "I saw your speech." I replied, "What did you think?" She hesitated. She sighed. "I thought I misjudged you." I smiled faintly. That happened a lot. Her eyes flickered with pain. "You're different." I said, "No. I'm focused." She nodded. "Lucas isn't here," she added unnecessarily. I replied, "I noticed." She looked down. "He's gone." I said, "I know." She glanced up. "You know?" I answered, "People talk." She sighed. "They do." Silence stretched.
Not awkward.
"Just empty." She said, "I didn't think you'd become this." I replied, "Neither did you." She winced. I raised a hand. "It's fine." She studied my face. "You're calm." I said, "Peace does that." She nodded slowly. "I haven't slept much." I said, "I hope that changes." She looked surprised. "You do." I replied, "I don't carry that anymore." Her shoulders dropped. "Everyone here looks at you like you're untouchable." I chuckled. "I'm very touchable." She smiled weakly. "You know what I mean." I said, "I know." She hesitated. "Do you ever think about us?" I answered honestly, "Not like you want me to." That stung her. I saw it. She forced a smile. "Of course." She glanced around. "They compare men to you now." I raised an eyebrow. "That's unfortunate for them." She almost laughed. You were never supposed to win. I tilted my head. I never played against you. That did it. Tears welled but didn't fall.
I should go, she said.
I nodded. Safe drive. She paused. I am proud of you, I replied. I'm proud of me too. She nodded once and walked away. She didn't look back. I watched her leave early, slipping through the side exit like she didn't belong anymore. And maybe she didn't. Ryan clapped me on the shoulder.
Damn.
I exhaled. That was something. He grinned. You good? I said, yeah. Claire turned and asked, everything okay? I nodded. All clear. She smiled. Good. Someone wants to discuss expansion. I followed her without hesitation. The conversation flowed. Numbers. Strategy. Vision. I felt alive. Present. When it ended, Ryan handed me a drink.
To growth, he said.
I clinked glasses. To letting go. He nodded. She asked about you again, he added casually. I shrugged. That's fine. He smirked. You really don't care? I corrected him. I care differently. On the ride home, Ryan said, you noticed she watched you like you used to watch her? I stared out the window. I noticed. He asked, how does it feel? I thought for a moment. Quiet. He smiled. That's power. I shook my head. That's closure.
He laughed.
Same thing. My phone buzzed. A text from Claire. Proud of you tonight. I replied. Thank you. Another buzz. Unknown number. It's Madeline. I didn't open it. I turned the phone face down. Ryan glanced over. You gonna read it? I shook my head. Not tonight. He nodded. Good call. When I got home, I hung my jacket carefully. I looked at myself in the mirror. Not searching. Just observing. I said quietly, you made it. I sat on the couch and let the silence wrap around me. No anger. No ache. Just clarity. I realized then that I wasn't driven by pain anymore. Pain had introduced me to myself. But I had outgrown it. I didn't need her regret. I didn't need her validation. I had already measured myself and passed. Somewhere out there, Madeline would keep comparing men to a version of me she never believed in. That wasn't my burden. I turned off the lights and went to bed, not thinking about who I was to her, but who I had become for myself. I stood on my balcony, the city lights stretching endlessly below me. The hum of traffic and distant sirens felt almost soothing. Ryan's words replayed in my head. Quiet is power. I exhaled slowly, letting the night air fill my lungs. My phone buzzed on the table behind me. Notifications, emails, new opportunities. I didn't rush to check them. I just let them sit there. For once, I wasn't desperate for validation. I was aware. Present. I whispered to myself. Nothing was the lie. That thought rolled over me again and again. It felt heavy, then light, then finally freeing. Months ago, I would have been sitting in my apartment obsessing over her texts, Lucas's failures, and my own failures. Now, I remembered each moment without bitterness. The engagement dinner, the ring hitting the floor, the silence after her apologies, every one of them had shaped me. Ryan called that morning. You awake? He asked. I laughed softly.
Yeah.
He said, you sound different. I replied, I am. He chuckled. Different good. I nodded. Different strong. That was the truth. Strength born from survival, not revenge. Claire had stopped by earlier to go over projections. You've come a long way, she said. I smirked. So have you. She laughed. I mean it. Most men wouldn't last 6 months in your shoes. I shrugged. I wasn't most men. She smiled knowingly. Exactly. I noticed how far I'd come. I wasn't chasing her approval anymore. I wasn't proving anything. I was building something real. Something mine. My chest felt lighter than it had in years. I whispered again. Thank you. Not to Claire. Not to Ryan. To her. Madeline. For forcing me to wake up. For making me see who I could be. I recalled the nights I cried alone. The endless texts left unread. the hours staring at my reflection wondering if I was nothing. I had believed her words for too long. You're nothing, Ethan.
How ironic now.
Nothing wasn't nothing. Nothing was the canvas. The nothing I was supposed to be became everything I am. I realized then that my flaws, my mistakes, my fears, they hadn't destroyed me. They had refined me. I spoke quietly to myself. I am not nothing. I never was. The city lights glimmered back, as if agreeing. Ryan's voice echoed in my memory. She never deserved you. I had doubted him back then. Not anymore. I smiled, remembering his relentless optimism. She never deserved this version of me, I whispered. And that felt true. The version she had seen, the man she called nothing, was gone, replaced by someone patient, careful, disciplined, confident. Not arrogant. Not seeking revenge. Just standing, fully present. Fully myself. That was victory enough. I glanced at my phone again. Emails, texts, LinkedIn notifications. Opportunities knocking. I felt no urgency to answer immediately. I knew I could. I had the skills. I had the discipline. I had the calm. Each buzz reminded me that the world had space for me now. Not her judgment, not his failures, not my doubts. The world had room for my voice, my decisions, my path. And I wasn't afraid to take it. I whispered again. I am ready. The journey hadn't been easy. I had stumbled, failed, and nearly quit more times than I cared to count. Daniel's voice came back. Failure is part of this. I had understood that fully now. Every failure, every late night, every lost opportunity or embarrassing moment had been a lesson. I smiled, thinking of my first real victory, the deal Claire had signed months ago. That moment had marked the beginning of my transformation. From the ashes of my heartbreak, I had built myself carefully, brick by brick. I had emerged stronger, wiser, and quieter. Resilient. I thought about Madeline again. Not with anger. Not with resentment. She was a chapter, a teacher, a test. Thank you, I said softly, aloud this time. I meant it. For making me realize my self-worth, for forcing me to grow, for teaching me the power of silence. She had no idea. Probably still didn't. Somewhere out there, she was awake, replaying her mistake, wondering if she had lost something she could never regain. And I was finally at peace. Ryan had said once, you can't heal in pieces. You have to face the whole. I had. Every text, every insult, every night alone. I had faced it.
And it no longer haunted me.
My apartment was quiet. My balcony was calm. My thoughts were measured. I felt complete. Not invincible. Not untouchable. Just steady. And steady felt better than any fleeting victory I had imagined before. I heard a soft ping from my phone. Another opportunity. I didn't flinch. I didn't race. I smiled. I picked it up calmly. Let's see where this goes, I whispered. I had learned patience. I had learned focus. I had learned to let things unfold without rushing or forcing. Silence had taught me more than words ever could. I closed the notification without responding immediately. The world could wait. I was finally free to move on my own terms. Claire's lessons, Daniel's mentorship, Ryan's friendship, they all merged into a single understanding. Life wasn't about proving people wrong. Life was about proving yourself right. I had done that. Step by step, day by day. I hadn't chased her or revenge. I hadn't sought approval. I had shown up. I had endured. I had grown. And that growth had made me untouchable, not in pride, but in peace. I took a deep breath and looked down at the city lights. They sparkled like possibilities, endless and infinite. Each light a story, a choice, a new path. I realized I could take any of them. I could build, I could fail, I could love, I could succeed. All on my own terms. My past no longer dictated my present. Madeline, Lucas, even my own doubts, they were distant echoes, lessons learned. I whispered softly again. I am enough. And for the first time, I truly believed it. The night was calm, the air crisp, I leaned on the balcony railing, hands steady, heart steady. My phone buzzed again, more opportunities. I smiled, letting the vibrations echo in the quiet night. Somewhere, she was awake, replaying her mistakes. Somewhere, the world was moving, indifferent to her regrets. And I was finally free. Free from her judgment. Free from my doubts. Free from the past. I let the breeze wash over me, breathing deeply, fully. And I whispered one last time, a promise to myself. This is my life now. The city continued to hum below me. Lights, distant sirens, soft conversations drifting from open windows. I stayed on the balcony for hours, letting the world move around me. I didn't need to chase anything. I didn't need to prove anything. I just stood.
Present. Calm. Whole.
The journey had ended where it always should, with me, finally at peace, finally awake, finally free.